Hey, I'm not going to talk too long. My chest is kind of fucked up, but I'll give it a minute just to say hello. Give you a rundown on what it's like to get a cold when you have benzo withdrawal syndrome. That may sound pretty basic to some people. Oh, you're getting a cold. Well, when I first started in benzo withdrawal syndrome, everything that could happen was terrifying. I never wanted to get a cold. I never wanted to get the flu. Certainly never wanted to get COVID, but back last year I did. And you never want to, you're doing your best not to take all these meds because you've been through it before and it can take you out. So basically, getting a cold, sometimes it makes my symptoms better, my benzo symptoms better. Um, but I gotta tell you, I am fucking uncomfortable as fuck this time around. I'm so congested. Not really congested, but burning in my chest. On top of just recently, I've been having some heart issues, and I'm getting a lot of pressure in my chest and palpitations, which seem to calm down a little today. So I got a lot of pressure in my chest, which I don't know where it's coming from. I had it checked out. It's nothing's going on, but you know, just regular bullshit, But like I said, I'm not gonna stay on too long. I just wanted to remind you that getting a cold while you're in benzo withdrawal syndrome, it's a cold. I mean, will your symptoms go up? Probably. Sometimes some of my symptoms go down, and then like some of those the withdrawal the syndrome symptoms will go down, and my body will really fight for me at that time. But once the cold starts to go away, I usually fall into a more of a wave. And since I've been in a pretty rough setback lately, yeah, it's not gonna help. None at all. But, it's part of life. We're all gonna go through it, especially if you're protracted like me. You're gonna get bugs. You're gonna do things that set you back. It's all part of, this this thing that's benzo withdrawal syndrome. Um, the nervous system's shot. I'm still tapering Remeron, and I don't know if I'll be tapering at the end of the month like I hoped and planned, but I'm going to try. I don't know if my anxiety and body can take it. Now that I'm getting this cold, I'm going to be weaker for a while. So I might try it, and end of February. Might go that route. Give it another month. Sometimes that's just the way it is. I'd rather be patient and get through it than speed it up and maybe not get through it. Because you know what I'm talking about. It's definitely a possibility that I could overdo it and not get out of it. And I know it's possible, especially with this latest setback. I know it's possible to be in a place that I didn't expect to be in. So, but, getting a cold. I remember when I was first in all this, I'm like, I can't get sick because I cannot take anymore. Well, you'll really probably see that your body can be really resilient in times when you get sick. Yeah, we can't take all the medicine and stuff, especially the ones with like NyQuil and stuff like that. Even the Dayquil that doesn't have the alcohol. I don't know, there's one that doesn't have the alcohol. You've got a lot of stuff in there that's going to probably mess with your nervous system. I'm not saying don't do it or don't take it. Everybody's different. That's always the rule. Everybody's different. I never take what people say you know, for law, unless it's something that's like obvious, like alcohol, benzos, or things that hit those certain receptors and stuff like that. I mean, even stuff that really calms down your nervous system is really hard for me just because once my nervous system is calm, there's usually a really bad kickback that makes my symptoms way worse than what I was trying to fix with the calming agent. So it's a fine line for sure, but I don't take cold medicines and stuff like that. The only time I have to take something is if I get, if I get an infection and I have no choice but to take like antibiotics or something. And I've taken antibiotics about 3 times, but the ones you should not take are the fluoroquinolone ones, like Cipro. Those ones will set you back, and that's just a guarantee in this situation. Like I say, everybody's different, but I have not heard of one person that took those that didn't set them back for years. And I've already, with the benzo coalition and the information out there, taking fluoroquinolone, I still can't say that, fluoroquinolone type antibiotics is really bad for us because it does hit the certain receptors, and when your body and nervous system is really fragile, it can really take your nerves out and your some of your tendons and shit like that. It's just really a mess for people like us. So, but there's a lot of other antibiotics. I mean, sometimes you have to fight for them to find you one, but they're out there. I had to take an antibiotic eye drop some months back, and they wanted to give me, first thing they're like, oh, fluoroquinolone, and I'm like, no. I'm allergic to it, but I know there's options. And he's just like, okay. He's like, well, we'll see. Those ones, the fluoroquinolone, that will cover everything, and that will definitely work. And I'm just like, well, I know there's other ones out there that could do the same thing. I'm like, I'm sorry it's not as easy, but, I can't use those because whatever, I said. And he took 5 minutes for research, found one. I put it in my eye. It was a steroid, actually. No, there was an antibiotic. No, it was a steroid first. I don't remember. It was a couple. But the antibiotic, yeah, he got it. And, honestly, that was the one that didn't even work because it wasn't even what he thought it was. So I ended up being on a steroid eye drop, which at first it didn't really mess me up, but it slowly did. And it seems unreal that could do that, but it started making my symptoms slowly worse and slowly worse. That was just something else that was compounding my wave at the time until I got into a serious setback from my nerve test. But some things you just have to do. I mean, you're a human, and sometimes you need intervention with some medicine and stuff like that. Like, I'm not forced to take a cough suppressant. I don't have to, so I'm not going to. I know I get pretty messed up from that medicine that makes you cough up stuff. That one throws me into waves, and I think that actually hits certain receptors. But, I mean, I've only had to take that once in the last 7.5 years. But right now, since I'm getting a cold, my lungs are burning like a motherfucker. Which I shouldn't even be talking, but I wanted to just update on this subject. But I've been experiencing a lot of out of breath stuff recently, and I didn't know why until my lungs started burning more, and me just getting totally out of it. I have a lot of pressure in my chest. I don't know if it's from this cold or if it was from what my heart was doing earlier in the week, which was, still going on, but just not as heavy right now. Just really weird. So I'm trying to meditate more and stuff like that, trying to relax more, trying to drink a little more water, doing some steam breathing and stuff like that. But, colds are going to happen. Flu is going to happen. You just take care of yourself the best you can. And if you hopefully you don't have to take any meds that, can throw you in a wave. But sometimes it happens, and, oh well. It's going to happen, and they always pass. The waves always pass. I mean, even to my major setback now, I mean, it's starting to get better, but now it's going to be set back again. It's just kind of how it goes. It sucks, but um, try not to overthink it. I mean, I did a ton of overthinking, and I had to learn from experience. So, but try not to overthink it. I mean, it's not as bad as you would think. When I took antibiotics, I always hoped for this like a Z-Pack because that was always the easiest for me. And I've taken it like 3 times, maybe in the last 7.5 years, maybe twice. I don't remember. And I would get in a little small wave. I'd hear a lot of really low humming in my ears from that, but in reality, it wasn't that bad. I mean, I even had a colonoscopy and whatever, the one down your throat one. I had that as well. And I got thrown into a wave after, but it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. You just don't realize, like, even when you're really fucked up in this syndrome, some of these things just aren't as bad. Like, I've had worse where I almost got hit by a fire truck once. That threw me more into a wave than I did from a colonoscopy. So the more shocks of, like, stress like that throw me more into a wave than, some of the other stuff. But I still try to stay away from doing anything if I have to. But, like, when it comes to your health, you always got to keep getting checked out. Colonoscopy. I'll probably do one again in a couple of years, or unless they want me to do one earlier, or I'm in a situation where they can just do it. But, I mean, I have a lot of gut issues, so you never know if they're going to put me in and do the one. I'd just be like, just go both ways, man. But since they're putting me out anyway. But always, like, when you get put out, they usually always try to throw benzos in there, and you have to be vigilant and say, hey, I can't do benzos. You either want to tell them why, or I usually just say I'm allergic to it, and it'll give me anaphylaxis or something, anaphylaxia or whatever it's called. And so then they say, no, okay, we don't need to do benzos. Because they don't really have to. They just do that because it calms you down. And honestly, I'm not that terrified when I'm in there doing it anyway, so I don't need it. But they do propofol, usually. And that's what I would always suggest if they weren't, for things like that. If you're going to be put under, that's something you could request. I don't know. I didn't have a really horrific problem from it. It didn't make me feel well, and I had a wave, but, hell, I was put out, so it's kind of expected, but nothing too horrific. So one of my more waves was from COVID. COVID was brutal, and I'll probably get it again. And reminding, I'm actually going to take another COVID test tonight, just in case. But I know it's a cold, but I'll always test. But COVID was brutal. COVID was a few weeks of pure hell, and then after that, it was about 5 months of recovering from it. That was hard. I would say like 6 months, like half a year dealing with that. And more or less, it was this disorientation that I had that was so fucking weird. That was hard, because trying to live your normal life while you're dealing with that is not an easy task. Anyway, I'm kind of over talking, and I shouldn't be. I just thought it was a good subject to talk about, because I remember how scared I used to be when things like this would happen. And here I am. Like, if I had this cold that I'm getting now, then I would have been fucking terrified. Terrified to even start getting a cold. What am I going to do? What am I going to take? What if I have to take antibiotics? Blah, blah, blah. You can't worry like that. Just see what, you got to see what happens. And if you do end up having to take antibiotics for something, I mean, weigh it, because sometimes doctors will just give you antibiotics just to appease you, thinking that you just want antibiotics. And not everything odds are, do you really need the antibiotics? I've gotten away with not taking antibiotics a lot of times that I normally would have, because, and they would just want to give it to me anyways just to shut me up. And honestly, the less I'm on antibiotics, the better, because your guts fucking hate that shit. Got enough problem with my guts. So yeah. But luckily right now, I'm good. So have a great night, and we will talk soon.